Let's chat it up with Ray. It's a shame about Ray. What's up, Ray?
Hey, John. I can't believe I'm on your show right now, dude.
I can't believe you're talking to me. This is awesome.
I just appreciate it. I mean, you've saved my wife and I thousands of dollars in therapy. So just by your show alone. So I appreciate actually getting to be on your show. So
well, I appreciate you having the courage to give me a buzz, dude. So what's up, man?
I mean, I don't really know where to start. So I'm hoping you can kind of lead me with, as I pose the question, kind of lead the conversation. So I feel like there's a lot behind it.
Okay.
But I just find it difficult to let myself cry. Even when I'm like, my body is telling me I need to, I just like, even in a quiet place, it just doesn't happen. And it's not like, when I'm watching a good movie, like, or grateful for my family and all that, like the tears come a little bit of that, but it's like when I'm dealing with, like loss or stress or like shame or disappointment in myself or just sadness, and it just doesn't come. So I'm hoping you can guide me to know what to do.
Give me an example of a time when you were thinking in real time, I should be crying right now and I want to cry, but I can't. Give me a specific example.
So this happened actually just a couple of days ago. And it's like little experiences like this that kind of add up, that lead me to like feel that build, and it just doesn't come. So like my son, he loves the projector. We call it projector night, where we put it up on the wall and all that. He wanted to put it up in a new place. He's 3 years old, by the way. So we put up a show, and he wanted to put a new spot. Spot wasn't big enough to fit the screen, but he's pushing all the buttons and I'm trying to take it down and up, and I lose a little bit of my cool. Not like hardcore, not yelling at him or anything like that, but just like, bud, we gotta, almost like I was blaming him. It's like, dude, he's 3, but it shouldn't push my buttons like that. But then I go into the shame cycle where I start beating myself up, and I feel this like heaviness, and I apologize to him, sound like I feel sad that I reacted that way. I chose to react that way. Sorry, but I'll be better next time. Or, but man, it's that. And then I do something else, or like I don't do as good at work. And I feel this, like, if I don't do a good job on a project or whatever, it then builds up, and I just start to feel that. And I don't take time as much as I should maybe to sit and just be alone with it. But even then, it doesn't always come.
Man, you are describing your life as though you were watching a movie of yourself, critiquing it. And brother, I got to tell you, man, that is the quintessential. That's the quintessential definition of trauma, is separation from oneself. Who told you, man, that the way you do life is wrong? Because when I hear a guy that is like so far ahead of millions and millions of men, dads, husbands, trying to do better than what they got. But there's this voice in the stands that just won't let you get better.
The inner critic, it's like the judge. It's so
loud. But that inner critic, that's somebody's voice. Whose voice is that?
Probably my parents.
Hey,
I also had,
hold on.
When
You've been defending them for way too long. They're grown-ups that can take care of themselves.
Yeah, I have been.
You got to stop.
I know. But, for example, like when I was a kid, when I'd cry, this is something that came to my mind. Like my dad would be like, "Here comes the fire engine."
Of
It'd
course.
make me cry more, and then
but
my mom is
why did he make you cry more?
Because it was like, it didn't matter to him.
No,
it was more of a joke.
No. That's not it. You cried more because when you were hurting, you needed one thing. And that was a dad who saw you and said, "Come here, buddy."
Yeah.
And damn it, he didn't give you that. And in fact, he widened the gulf. He made that chasm between the two of you wider. And he looked at you and blamed you. Here comes the fireworks. Here comes the fire trucks. Wah, wah.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like being in the water and you realize it's too deep and you can't touch. And you start panicking and your dad makes eye contact with you and swims away. That's why you cried harder. That came from your guts. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
And I bet that happened in high school too. Were you a kid? Were you a kid that got good grades and then the first response is, wow, would another A have killed you?
Well, I'm funny. I was homeschooled and I was pulled out really young and had no structure with the schooling. And it was like, here's a math book. See ya. I'm going to go teach piano lessons. And I'm like, okay, I'll try to learn how to do this. So had no structure, really no help in that regard.
But were you judged as though you did?
It was like, why, you need to be doing this. And it's like critical in that, like, I know. It was very much like, here, set me up, didn't really set me up for success. But I mean, there were some great blessings that came from that.
Here you go. Stop defending them.
For sure.
For 5 minutes.
I know, dude. I know.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
I am a perfect example of that. I also had to be there for my mom. I mean, my parents are divorced. I had to carry a lot of her worries, or I chose to, or she put them on me.
No, you
didn't know what to do with them.
Kids don't choose. You didn't. That became your job and your role.
So what do I do now? Like, as much as it's like, okay, I have like novel-sized notes in my phone of everything, of how breaking it down and, trying to make sense of it all. But in the end, it's like, okay, but I can try and make sense of it, but what do I do now? It's like, I can't really, it doesn't do me much good just simply knowing what happened. It's like, well, I'm dealing with this now. So what do I do? How do I allow myself to feel that vulnerability, like to be truly vulnerable in my own skin and be okay, regardless of, I don't want like validation from others to cry. I don't want to have to put on Sarah McLachlan to cry, or I want to be able to just like allow myself to cry.
Okay, first I want you to unhook yourself from crying being this magic finish line. Okay?
Okay.
So, similar to like somebody who's been working in the real world for 10 years and they have an MBA and they're telling me they need to go back to get a PhD in business so they can learn how to do business better. I want to tell you, man, at this point, you can just, you can just get what you need off the internet. So it's a false finish line. Okay.
Okay.
I don't want that to be your marker. Because what's going to happen is you're going to cry and you're still going to be sad. You're still going to be frustrated. You're still going to feel like the inside of your chest is cemented shut. And all of your guts have been super glued together, which is how you feel. And crying is the result of the work. Crying isn't the destination, okay? So I'm running through my head here. I'll be as vague as I can. Last week.
I prefer specific if you're asking me anything.
No. I'm trying to decide how much I'm going to disclose here. Okay. We're here. So last week, I've been seeing a counselor. Halfway through writing this last book, I was brought back to some memories and stories in my life that I had evidently buried far, far away. And I knew them. I just didn't think about them very much. And it was like getting hit by a truck. And I know them. I'm write them down. Like you, I've got pages and pages in my notes app on my phone and in my little diary journal things. And then for the first time in 40 years, I spoke it out loud in front of a counselor. And I felt I can't describe it other than I'm still processing it. But I felt like I dropped 100 pounds. And then I went home and I had a conversation, and I've been married to the same woman for 20 years. We've been together for probably 25, 26 now. And I'd never told her some of this stuff. And yet another 100 pounds. So I tell you this, there is only one path to vulnerability. And that is sitting in front of somebody else who could burn you, who could hurt you, and you saying, here's what happened. That's the path.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it works. I'm sure there's an oxytocin release, and I'm sure partridge in a pear tree and dopamine and serotonin and jumping jacks and cold tubs. I'm sure all that crap is a thing. I don't care. What I know beyond a shadow of a doubt from the research, what I know beyond a shadow of a doubt from my own life, what I know beyond a shadow of a doubt from last week is that the thing that melts the cement in your chest is sitting across somebody and saying, this happened to me. That's why every major religion throughout all of human history has a confession element to it. And we've made confession about bad things we did. That's not the origin of confession. The origin of confession is, here's what happened. And I think it's been woven through every religion throughout human history because it's got a healing element to it. It's medicinal.
Yeah.
For lack of better terms, it's spiritual. It's a gift. Are there things that you've experienced that your wife doesn't even know?
Yeah, not specifics. She knows some general things. Haven't gotten into the dirt of it all.
Have you ever sat down with a counselor and just said, hey, this is what happened?
No.
No.
Well, I mean, some things, but not
the stuff.
Not this stuff.
That's
no.
right. And what you're trying to do is, I want you to follow the pattern here. You're having a conversation with yourself that's reinforced by your younger self, that then turns your body up and starts spinning. And then you've got to have a conversation to bring yourself back down. And you're in a loop-de-loop. And another word for loop-de-loop is a hurricane or a tornado. And that, my friend, is anxiety. And then you find yourself trying to predict what she's going to say, what's going to happen over here. If your boss emails you at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, you can't breathe.
Yeah, that needs to happen.
Bro, I mean, crying's good. For me, crying is cathartic. The other day I was, I don't mind telling, we're just going to tell all Delony's laundry. We're just going to put it all out there today. I went to Texas for an event for a couple of days working with a really remarkable business. And I got to sit with a couple of buddies who have been my ride or dies for almost 30 years now. And their wives, I consider them some of my best friends. We're a gang. And we all went out to dinner. It was just me and my two buddies and their two wives, just us, no kids. And I secretly handed my debit card to the waitress under the table, pay for the whole meal. And I've had a season of blessing the last year. It's been silly. We sold a lot of books and a lot of questions for humans cards. And my buddy John King looked at me and he said, you will never do that again. And I said, hey, man, it's been a good season. I've had a good little run here. Y'all have picked me up for years. These two guys paid my rent. And he said, you have to have a place where you can pull up to a table and we love you because you're you, not because you're buying us dinner. Never do that again. And I was telling my wife this story when I got back to Nashville, and I just started weeping in a restaurant. It just came because I was overwhelmed by how much those 4 people love me. And they don't care how famous, and they don't care anything. Because they were my friends. They loved me when they were paying my rent. One of those guys I had to call one time and say, hey, I've got like a real bad issue with my health and I may need to go to the ER and I've got no room on a credit card. Can I borrow your Southwest card to go to the ER? And he said, I'll drive you. That's how poor, and you see what I'm saying? But I was so overwhelmed. But the goal wasn't to cry at that lunch. The goal was to say out loud to somebody that I care and love, my wife,
Hmm.
I can't believe how blessed I am. And I can't believe I've got people that I don't have to prove myself to.
Yeah, I feel like I don't, I mean, other than my wife, that's the best person to be able to do this with. But if you talk about having guy friends, I don't have guy friends. I mean, I need guy friends too. So like when you talk about that, like you be able to sit down with dinner and it's not about what you can offer them. You know, it's just like you are enough. You know?
We tell the same stories for 30 years.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. How old are you now?
I'm 33.
33. You've got, I don't know, you start today and you'll be having this conversation when you're 53 and you've been riding or dying with a group of guys for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier when they shove you all in a college dorm and say, may the force be with you, right? May the odds be forever in your favor. And you don't have that luxury. But you got money now, right? You've got like a car. And it's just a matter of starting. The challenge for you is those kind of relationships burned you alive as a kid, man. And my guess is you and I could talk for a long time, and you're trying to navigate a mom who used you like a water bottle, used you as a drug, right? You were oxygen for her. And a dad that was so critical of his own freaking son, man, that he mocked his pain, laughed at him because your cries were annoying and too loud, like a fire truck engine. My guess is you've probably made some dumb mistakes along the way trying to find connection with anybody, anywhere, any place, anyhow. And you ultimately learned, I'm just going to take my tools and go home. Whew, it's hard. Tears will come, but I want you to focus your energy on vulnerability, on finding a person, a couple of people that you can just be honest with for the first time. Whew. For me, that needed to be a professional. I need to sit down and say, hey, this stuff happened. And it was just like the glue melted, man. And my dearest hope for you, my brother, my neighbor here in town, is that you'll have the courage to make those calls. Sit down with your wife and say, hey, I have some dark stuff I'd love to tell you about, but it's also going to be heavy. So you tell me when you're ready, because she can feel that disconnection between the two of you too. You're worth connecting. I'm grateful for you, my brother. Hang on the line. I'm going to send you a copy of Own Your Past, Change Your Future for free. Read that. It'll give you a blueprint out. I'm grateful for you, man. Thanks for trying to be the best husband and dad you can be. Now I want you to take that level of care and look in the mirror and love that guy that much too.